What would you say is the worst sequel ever made?
Ooh. Compared to the original and how great it was? Something
Sure.
like that? That goes to Kindergarten Cop 2.
That wasn't the worst.
It was pretty bad.
Wasn't the worst. Dolph Lundgren.
It's pretty bad. I'm Dolph Lundgren and I'm the kids and woke. Stop being so woke. Let me fuck this 19-year-old girl.
Now, worst sequel probably goes to like every Jim Carrey movie where
How
they
dare
don't put
you.
Jim Carrey in it.
Oh, I was gonna say, okay.
Like
Sure.
Son of the Mask or Ace Ventura Jr., The Dumb and Dumber with the kids.
I never saw any of those, so they must be horrible.
Yes. All right, guys, here we're to talk about the movie Mortal Kombat Annihilation. 1997's Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Lee, you've seen this one before, haven't you?
Of course.
Yeah, it's worse than I remember.
Yeah, I think that when people, like, when I was pleasantly surprised at the first Mortal Kombat, it's because my memory is mixed with this one. So there's certain shots and like effect scenes where they kind of bleeds into each other. And I think overall, when someone's like, the first one's, watch the first one, skip the second one, I'm like, no, it's all bad because I like combined.
Yeah, I wrapped them around.
Yeah,
no, this one is far worse.
Markedly
They drop
worse.
almost everyone that's in the first movie.
It's very weird.
Yeah, it's and like brutally so.
It takes some interesting turns and makes some interesting choices. I'm not sure who it's for, but it's not for me.
No. This is not a good movie.
Yeah.
It'll be fun to talk about, though. I
There's
assure you there.
There's a lot to unpack, as we say.
Most definitely. So like Mortal Kombat 1, definitely a thumbs up. Mortal Kombat 2, Annihilation here, not at all.
No, I'm going to go with the conventional wisdom. Watch the first one. It's probably pleasantly, surprisingly not as bad. And skip the second one. Unless you are just, I think his name is Brian Thompson, the alien bounty hunter. Unless you're just a super fan of his, which I kind of am. And even so, that doesn't save it. But
No,
there you go.
this is like a fan parody of the first movie.
Ooh, brutal.
All right, guys, so if you've seen it or don't care, falls over spoilers. And if not, pull out now.
If you need a place to rent content, you better listen. We're Cannibal Video and we eat the competition.
All right, so here we are for the spoilers of Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Bad movie. Done.
It's done. No, like, but what did you expect? Johnny Cage is gone, Sonya's gone, Jax is gone.
Okay.
Who else did they replace? Raiden's gone.
Yo, we could talk for hours about any one of those, but the one that I want to start with is Johnny Cage.
All right.
Because I need to know, did they rewrite the movie to kill him after 3 minutes because the original guy wouldn't show up? Or had they like already done that? Like, did he refuse to show up even for 3 minutes? Like, what's happening?
Well, I know
so
he read
good.
the script and said no. So whether he read it and go, I'm not showing up to die, this movie's bad,
Yeah.
I could see.
No, exactly.
But I could also see, like, I'll be there for how long and you'll pay me how much? So maybe he was fully in it and they pulled him out?
I don't know, but like part of me was like, that's the same guy. No, Liu Kang and Johnny Cage are the same people. Oh, he dies. Okay, that's why. And then I'm like, I'm kind of face blind and autistic. Let me go look this up. It's like, that's not the same guy at all.
They did cast a guy that looks a lot like him.
He's pretty good.
He looks a lot like him.
This is not good.
But they kill him instantly. It's very funny.
Yeah.
And Sonya is a whole different person.
Together, we couldn't even save Johnny.
It's really weird.
Yes.
She's extremely different as a person.
The guy that played Johnny in this, though, was Jason in Hercules and in Young Hercules. Yeah. He was a bad guy in Airborne.
Yeah, his IMDb
I
has
do like
more
him.
Stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, he's very underutilized in this because he dies relatively instantly.
I don't know if somebody was like, hey, we need a guy that kind of looks like this. Who's available? Can you do me a favor? Oh, my God.
Probably.
Yes,
they
like,
do look enough alike that if you watch these years apart, you could be like,
God.
oh, that's him, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
But
not
no.
the case with Sonya.
No, Sonya, way different. She kind of looks like the sister of the girl from sister of the guy from California Dreams from the first season.
Oh, that thing no one knows but you. Yes, exactly.
I could refer to Crocodile 2 Death Swamp if that helps you.
Okay, I was gonna say which season of that thing no one's seen. Yes.
The first.
Oh, good.
But yeah, so like, she looks familiar, but she's not. She's been in some things.
Yeah.
I think honestly, she's been in some things we've seen before.
No,
but
she was fine, but it's
not
like,
when you compare it to the original one we had.
And we watched them so close together,
Yeah.
and like so intently that it is a huge contrast. Yes.
Yeah, Raiden, I think is a big difference here. Where I'm like, that's like that's no Chris Lambert, but he
No
was
one is
filming
Chris
Beowulf at this moment, so I'm like, all right, Beowulf's pretty decent too. So I was like, I'll allow that. Better than this movie. So if you're gonna waste your time, waste it there.
No one's Christopher Lambert though, so like
No.
you have to hold up to that. I think they got James Remar's a decent fill-in for Christopher Lambert.
Not only is he a decent villain, storyline wise, he has to be brothers with what's his face.
Brian Thompson.
Yes, I was
Is that
gonna
his
say.
name? I feel like that's not his name.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they look kind of like they could be brothers.
Shao Kahn is my brother.
No,
They have like a strong jaw. They have a similar shaped head. I was like, oh yeah, that works.
He's also evocative enough of Chris Lambert if you
Yeah.
haven't seen that recently.
Cutting his
so
hair,
it kind of worked.
mistake.
Oh my God. This is the moment when I was like literally like, turn it off!
Raiden? It's a new look.
Turn it off, we're done, it's over. When like mortal Raiden shows up
Yeah.
and flips into the sea and he's like, hi guys, and you're like, what is happening? What's going on? It's
I'm now Guile. You're like, what?
I'm now a different character. And like literally I got vibes of because I looked it up. James Remar, Dexter's dad
Yeah.
is 44 here, right? So he was like, wait, I've been working out for this role. You told me that I have to work out. People have to see these 44-year-old guns. All right, we need to change my look. Now I'm saying all this. I didn't go check if Raiden has this other view in the games. Ever. I don't think so. And
I don't remember it, but I'm not a big.
I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat guy.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious to me to have him
It's not
show
good,
up
yeah.
with like his arms exposed.
And if
you
you're
can
gonna
see
do
him
that
and
at the
stuff,
I
do
could
it,
I could
yes.
totally allow it.
Yeah.
If like okay, he's mortal now, he looks like that. But at the end, he turns back into like an elder god.
Yes.
He should turn back into Raiden.
Probably.
Like, give me something. Let me hold something. Come
Hold
on.
something. And also for him to
lame.
like still like he still has kind of his Raiden powers, but he also
Like
just
fleeting.
Yes, but then he just also has like I'm a good fighter powers.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay. And again, I'm like, did they ever do a Mortal Kombat where they toned down the supernatural elements and Raiden was like mortal Raiden that didn't have electricity powers? And I didn't check. I don't think so though.
Well, he could always
certainly
do the
not by this
uppercut
year.
though, so it's not like that was out of his wheelhouse. And he does the uppercut.
I assumed it was fueled by lightning though.
Well, fueled by ramen, but
They have him fight 3 reptiles, and I'm pretty sure that fight kind of sucks. It's kind of whatever. It's fine. The fights all suck though, and I think while that's happening, another fight happens off camera. Is that true? Because he comes back
off
and
camera,
he says,
yes.
and he says, "Who finished off
Sindel
Sindel?"
got punched by Jade, but
Yeah.
Jade and Sindel are on the same team, so she probably didn't actually hit her at all. She's like, "Shh, act like you're sleeping."
But don't they fight like? There's like a fight that we don't see. I think. Am I making that up?
Who finished off Sindel?
After she blasted you, I surprised her from behind.
I thought it was just Sindel, but maybe.
Okay, but he shows up and says, "Who finished off Sindel?" As if there was this epic fight, and I'm like, we only saw Raiden fighting reptiles,
Yeah.
right?
I've known you 1 minute, and you dissing me already?
Sindel
whatever.
is the she-mantis, or
Yes.
the Lady Mosquito, as we've known her from our
Femsquito.
Mansquito video. I like her.
I did not recognize her, but she's great because now that I know who that is, that scene of her just screaming and destroying everything.
That's her mosquito shriek.
She must have had a lot of fun.
Of course. No, like in general, like this movie feels very, very B compared to the first one, which wasn't like super A to begin with.
Yeah.
But like all these characters do feel like a parody themselves. Well, the first one had this thing where I was like, all those characters, they are those characters. They costume them perfectly. They cast them perfectly. This one, I'm like, is this a YouTube video where they're making a Mortal Kombat movie?
Yeah.
Because like it doesn't feel like a movie, and just like even just the general shit concepts, like the like balls that travel through the center of the earth are so stupid.
God, why?
Like they're being propelled by like incredibly hot air.
You can travel to anywhere on Earth in mere hours. The inner winds propel you.
That is how they're being propelled. They are hollow balls. So A, that'd be like the least like good conductor of being pushed by air, and B, you'd be getting hit with flaming air.
You can't go that fast though.
Even if you're not going fast.
I'm joking. No, I'm saying like, well, it can't be a solid ball because then it would push too hard. It would be like a vacuum tube.
You want that.
You do.
That would because
No,
it says it travels around the Earth in hours.
I forgot like that whole part. I was
The
just
whole
like,
mission,
oh, no.
I understand.
Yes,
Raiden
I
doesn't have
remember now.
powers, so they have to use these tubes to go around. And I'm like, okay, let's go with that. But then he's like, there are fighters you must get, and I'm like, why wouldn't those fighters have been in the first one?
Alone, you are vulnerable. But if you work together as a team, you can do much.
Because there's a possibility you could lose the first match, which would have been for Earth's fate, but you didn't choose to take Nightwolf. You didn't take Jax, and I'm like, why? And then Nightwolf didn't even come with them at all. He just he's like, let me train you animalities, which felt like such a fan service bullshit moment.
To test your courage and find your animality, you've got to put yourself in a dream state.
Yeah, we should get into that. There's a lot of fan service in this movie, and I'm not enough of a fan to receive that service. So there was a bunch of moments where, like, I'm supposed to be like, whoa, it's this guy brought to life. It's so cool. And I'm like, listen, I'm like, I don't know what this is, but if I was a fan of it, I wouldn't like it because it sucks.
Yeah.
So
no, yes, exactly that.
No one's winning here. I'm just like, who's Missile Chest Man? I don't know, but everyone seems to be really into it. Oh wow. Big reveal.
I thought that was cool. I liked the set that they were in during that fight. I was like, oh, that's a cool science facility. I didn't understand when they're talking about Jax. It looks like he just had a horrible procedure where his arms are replaced with metal arms.
Yeah, I don't know what's
But
going on
really,
with this.
it's just he's like wearing a vest more or less that's just around his arms because it gets ripped off. Isn't not bleeding. It's not wires coming out. It's not pumped into him in any way.
There's a thing.
I don't know why he was affixed to the fucking floor in the first place.
I don't know why he was restrained.
Yeah.
And there's stuff on his back, like tubing or something. But yeah, that's not a thing. He
That's
kinda,
like a battery pack because he starts to lose power and then it gets ripped off of him.
well, like he kind of makes a face like this is unpleasant to tear these off, but they're just big like mitts.
Yeah, his actual hands poke through them, which I'm like, that seems like a mistake. Shouldn't you have metal fingers too?
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I did
he
not catch
slides
that.
through and it goes like around this part.
I did not catch that. That's so much worse. I was shocked when he took them off because I thought those were his new arms.
As they should be. They look pretty
which is
good
the
when they're
thing.
on him because
Yeah,
it
it's fine.
adds him a lot of bulk. And he's a strong guy to begin with. Obviously,
So-
has big abs.
So you finally got your confidence back, huh?
Finally asked for help, huh?
Real quick, when he suits up to leave the facility, he gets a jacket, but then he tears the sleeves off immediately to show off the iron guns.
I would actually say it's probably a practical thing. I think his arms are far too big to ever fit through the sleeves.
Makes me laugh. Don't care. He's like, good a coat. Starts like tearing it apart. It's amazing.
Never buttons it though.
Well,
Because why would
gotta
you?
be cool.
They make ladies fight in the mud in this movie.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
So that's fan service, but of the generic variety, not
Yeah.
of the Mortal Kombat fan
No.
service. After that fight, there's this demon that pops up behind her.
My favorite part
It's-
of the movie.
It's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my whole life.
My note was Jax punches the worst CGI in the leg repeatedly.
Yeah.
And that's what happens.
He's
if
over
you
there
read like the closed
working on it.
captioning on what is happening for the like, you'd be like,
Right.
oh, Jax is fighting the worst CGI in the world by punching it in the thighs. What?
Like those like For the Blind where they talk you through
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
happening in the movie. This part just says it's a good thing you're blind because you shouldn't be looking at this.
It looked like
No,
he's
it's-
fighting the minion or whatever from Spawn, but like done in the worst rendering possible.
Yeah, no, like bad. Up there with the Lost in Space monkey thing.
Yeah.
Like really bad CG. No weight, no lighting, no integration, nothing. And we have our dude punching it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And then like he defeats it. It just kind of like deflates like, and
Yep.
just like sinks into the hole in the ground. It's horrible.
No, it's very lame. A lot of what you see here, it just has that like dollar store version of Mortal Kombat where you're like, like our Sub-Zero character comes in for a moment and he's like, I'm Sub-Zero's brother. You can call me Sub-Zero also.
You killed my older brother.
And I'm like, okay.
I also have his powers. Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember something along the lines of there being two of them and them having a rivalry or some bullshit. But
Who cares?
they fend off Scorpion, and it's enough time for him to say, see, how could you beat anybody? You're not ready for this.
Without Katana, it's over. We've lost. What's happened here should prove you alone are not ready for what's ahead.
And then he leaves, and I'm like, why didn't you stay and help then, you motherfucker? Why do we just introduce characters that are supposed to be on the good guys team and they leave? Because you lost Sub-Zero and Nightwolf, two potentially most powerful people you've just encountered, and they're gone. And then Jade just like randomly happens upon him. Oh, are you in the snow and cold? Let me be in a bikini now. I'm like, what is happening? This better be a dream.
Okay, she has a good intro, because I was like, damn, and then it was downhill from there. No, you're absolutely right. I was waiting for those characters to show up at the end because of a movie that has a plot and you set things up. I was expecting Sub-Zero to clutch and help, and then Nightwolf, like an actual wolf is there doing something, and then it transforms, and he, takes on the weird Minotaur, Centaur man, whatever.
No, very weird.
But nothing happens. What happens instead is Shiva dies in the most hilarious way. She just gets smushed.
Yeah, they couldn't afford her CG fight.
Doesn't get to fight. It's hilarious.
She looked pretty good though. Was there just a more muscular girl behind her? The perspective worked and made the arms look the same?
There was, usually it's quick and it's fine, but there was one scene where it's literally just, they just copied and pasted her arms to the layer below, because they were exactly the same arms, it seemed like. I was like, oh no, what's happening? And this is an actress who's been in other action roles that I refuse to name because I forget them. But
was she in Beastmaster?
Yes.
Okay. I thought she looked very familiar.
Yes, and she looked vaguely familiar to me, but she'd been in other stuff during this time, movies, one episodes of TV shows. The point is, she doesn't get to do anything, and it's so dumb. And even that, instead they put it all into that Scorpion Centaur guy, right? And this whole thing is so clumsily delivered, where they have a big conversation where they all say their own names.
By now, you'd be behind bars on display in a zoo.
If those bars could keep me away from you, Shiva, I would welcome them.
So you're like, who is that? What's going on? They have to do it. Oh, it's so awful.
The Centaur guy used to be an American Gladiator.
This is Malibu, the cool, laid-back surfer.
And so was the guy that played Jax.
You've heard of Mr. Clean? Well, take a look at this.
So they knew each other before. So that just might have been a secondary fan service moment. I don't know. It wasn't.
Laser and hamstring.
It did nothing for me. I was like, this is kind of, what are you doing?
Yeah, if you Google these people, you're like, oh, I think it's that guy. There you go, cool. But yes, no. The first movie, I remember saying, had a way of making every body and every fight look cool, even though the whole thing has sort of a crap vibe. This is the opposite.
Had a way of making everything feel pointless.
In this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the first movie cuts from fight to fight, and it's a little jarring, but then you're like, oh, hey, okay.
Yeah.
This is the opposite, where you're like, who is this? And at one point, Sonya acknowledges it. She says, leftovers are fine with me.
Leftovers are fine with me.
And I was like, what is happening? Because there's this character we haven't really fleshed out or introduced at all, who's just Red Ninja we have to fight. Oh, I hate this movie so much.
He's supposed to be super powerful too, and they treated him like a little bitch.
He makes a clone, and they fight together. It's a whole thing. He's a guy from the game, but I mean, they all are. But yes, I was like, ugh.
The energies they waste with their sniveling, I would use to capture souls. Or you.
No.
Now maybe I just don't understand something. Why do Raiden's powers only work on Earth if he is from the realm where they don't work?
Khan knows I have no powers in Outworld. And as the two realms merge, I will lose my powers here on Earth.
I don't know what realm he's from. Or it's like Superman.
His dad is that all whatever. Outworld is where they're seemingly from. His brother's powers work there. His powers only work on Earth, and it's very strange. I don't understand why
his
it's
powers
not really delivered.
Do not work in Outworld.
I know.
That's why.
I have no powers in Outworld.
No, listen, I don't know. That's it. It seems like Khan's powers stop working here or something. So maybe that's happening. I don't know.
I don't think they did, but
it's
I don't know.
It's a make-a-believe. No. He says you're bleeding, and I did not expect this, and all this other stuff.
No, that they're in Outworld when that happens.
Your blood flows, Khan, just like the blood of a mortal.
Father, how can this be?
Yeah, he uses the last of his powers when that temple and Sindel was attacking to take them to Outworld.
I thought Outworld was becoming our world.
It is,
Both or
but they
whatever.
are on the Outworld side
That's
of it.
the temple or
yeah.
whatever?
There's a weird shot where like the Golden Gate Bridge is brought into Outworld, and there's like they're like, oh, and all the dead people, and you think they're gonna pan through a whole lot of them, but there's like one car with one skeleton. And you're like,
All those people in the cars.
Torn between realms.
It's like a nightmare or something, man.
We have to stop this.
you had 1 second for that shot. I'm
There's
sure
an awesome-
on paper it was way better.
It's an awesome Eiffel Tower thing or whatever.
Yeah, I like a lot of that
no,
stuff.
this is really ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the old reach versus grasp type of thing where we exceed our ability to do these things that we're
Like,
trying to do.
are you familiar with Bat in the Sun? They're like a small production company that makes like superhero shorts for YouTube, and like I feel like this is like somebody trying to make one of their videos but not succeeding.
And like failing at that,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they have like an actual.
Because they have a
studio.
way better video with like Mortal Kombat characters than this movie is.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a way to do Mortal Kombat fan service where you reveal a character and they show up and they do something and
Mm-hmm.
the fight's going weird and then a dude shows it, and like that's how some of those shorts are, you know?
Yeah.
Batman's there with the Joker and then an alien shows up and then the Predator shows up and then it's this dumb, it's like
Yeah.
it's like that aesthetic. But if you can't even achieve that, why are we doing all this with the Elder Gods and the
Yeah.
thing and the animalities? I wanted to die. Because earlier I was like, oh, is he, what animal is he? Is he some sort of crocodile?
Feel your animality, your animality, your animality, your animality.
What do those eyes look like? Don't worry.
Well, no, he turns into a dragon in the game, so I was like, okay,
yes,
that makes sense.
Of course. I just didn't know that.
Okay.
So Liu Kang turns into the worst dragon ever. And then, the alien bounty hunter says, I can beat that. And turns into something.
Like a Hydra.
His head like stretches all weird.
Yeah, they
It
didn't
begins
have the
really
morph
bad.
tool set properly for
Yes.
this, because it doesn't. His mouth doesn't open to be the mouth. It like comes through his whole fucking brain.
But in the middle there, once they get going, especially the Hydra thing, there are some cool shots where I'm like, okay. And like, I can tap into that dated CG as charming every now and then. But had like a cool look. It looked stop motion-y almost, the way it was moving. And I was like, neat.
Just clipping frames.
I was gonna say probably just low frame rate, but I had it had like a decent vibe, and then it went right back into shit again.
Yeah, it was weird. This dropped like a couple of feet, and now the fight starts again. Lame. I liked one guy gets disintegrated in that lab scene.
Yeah.
And then like Jax takes the disintegrator thing. He's like, to the ground. Fuck that shit. There's a couple of scenes like and the CG on that is terrible,
Yeah.
but it's kind of fun. But how they end up killing a cyborg is she like picks up powder and like blows it through the fire, and it like burns him to death. He's a fucking machine guy, and you're like, what the fuck am I looking at?
And like part of me, I was like, okay, is that like in a grain elevator where when you aerate certain like fine particles, they catch fire? But that shouldn't destroy a weird cyborg ninja.
You would think not.
You would think. She gets a lot of bad ones. There's like a callback to her neck break thing when she kills the dude that she, in the finale when they all pair off with
Yeah.
other dudes and fight them.
Twists
And
her ankles
she's
on his
just
neck.
like she's just like standing there and just goes like and just does like a little
Yeah.
skip it maneuver. Yeah.
And that could have been cool,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
But it was not. Just to clarify, it could have been cool, but it was not.
That dream sequence was fucking weird, right? His eyes are open, he's just looking around.
What if I failed everyone?
Your brother's soul is mine.
I don't know why movies like insist on doing those things. And that's the last we see of Nightwolf. He's like hits him in the back of the head or in the head with the back of an axe and just walks away. And he also had a pretty decent CG to Wolf thing that I was like, for the time, that was okay compared to everything else we see. Oh, Baraka was fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah, I forgot he was in the movie.
The most ridiculous thing about the entire movie is when you go to IMDb, it says Baraka was intended to be Sylvester Stallone, and I'm like, what the fuck? How did you in any way hope this to be Sylvester Stallone?
You can't get Johnny Cage to come back for 3
Yeah.
minutes, and you expected Sly, Sylvester Stallone to show up and be your Baraka?
It doesn't make any sense.
With like an appliance on his face? You're like,
but to never see who he is at all,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. This movie was like so bad that it canceled all future plans up until the reboot that is coming out soon. But I liked what I saw for their potential third movie. They wanted to pull out all the stops, and Johnny Cage was coming back. They were gonna fucking like rebirth his ass, and he was gonna be there. Some of the other characters were gonna be coming back. You were gonna have some like decent stuff, and it was gonna be like totally over the top. But they're like, "Fuck you, bitch, we ain't doing shit," and obviously didn't.
No,
happen.
it sucks. Like I feel like of all the movies, especially after the first one and its success, it's pretty easy to do this honestly. Like just have your like good fighters and then have them do one fight when someone shows up to try to assassinate them to get rid of those bad characters, and then have the good characters get together with Raiden and go off and then fight the rest of like the bad characters. Right? It seems very formulaic.
Kinda.
All you have to do is shoot fights with like 3 actors at a time and just like up until the end.
Yeah,
and just
honestly, with some of the
What are we
new
doing?
characters you had here, like you could have, if you kept your old characters too and made another plot, like some of those characters are pretty fun. I thought it's very weird to have your like lead bad guy, this weird skeleton mask that looks fake as fuck, party fair stuff, and I'm like, that's weird.
Oh yeah.
Like it looked really bad to be the hero mask that you're seeing. Like I'm like, oh,
It
maybe
looks
that's the
goofy,
foam one from when he's fighting. And it's like, no, he hasn't fighting that. I don't know why he has that. It looked so bad.
The way his mouth moves underneath it made it very
And like
funny.
the nose cavity is just a black thing. It's not. They could just cut that because it wouldn't be hollow. You'd see through it.
The stuff that is there intentionally, like the mud fighting or the fan service or characters that show up and then leave, just like makes it more insulting and goofy to have to subject yourself to this. Because like even the effects that are bad in the first one like fit or make sense in a way, and here it's just like, why are we even doing this if it's gonna look like that? Just stop.
I'm gonna make you eat that thing.
Just smush them all like Shiva. Just kill them instantly. Like what's happening?
Pretty much.
Snap your fingers and go, ah, good. Those scary guys from the intro are gone now.
Then I will take your generals, because Earth does not bend to the will of tyrants.
So like from the jump, you have right before Johnny dies, like Sonya's there. Johnny comes in, tries to save her. He gets held, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill him. And he goes, I'll kill all your generals. And Raiden has the power to like crush all of his generals
To,
like right
do
there.
it, yes.
And he goes, you wouldn't let one of your humans die. He goes,
Trade me for Johnny Cage.
Come bow at my feet.
wait a minute. They can't do anything without you, but you're willing to do that. And then later he does give up his fucking, godhood or whatever to give them. And like it just seems like you're fighting this losing battle the whole time that I don't understand. Like if you were to like Johnny obviously can't beat him because Johnny just got swatted with one punch and was gonna get killed. Sonya got dragged with like force powers. So like they can't win without you, but you're willing to give up your life to save them, which just means you're letting them die with extra steps.
Agreed. He made a poor choice there. I feel like the introduction, because in the first movie we talked about, like, well, Shang Tsung's breaking the rules. And it's like, well, there's no one to enforce the rules. There's no one above these people. And I didn't know at the time that there is these ancient elder god things, right? But that should have been the second movie. It's like, oh, well, like the last tournament's forfeit because of this and that. That wasn't our fault. It doesn't matter. Okay, but now that they're watching, I as Raiden can't help you the way that I was. And here, it's always like weird. Well, I was breaking the rules too. What? No, it's complicated. The rules suck. It's it's crazy. But listen, we have to defeat him. Go on this quest. And this dumb, like you could have like pivoted away as to like, why do we have to repeat the entire first movie on the day after the entire first movie took place? What is happening, right?
Or if you're going to expound
really
upon it, maybe like he's killed these higher ups and that's how he was able to cheat in the first place, and he's stealing their powers and this and that. We have to fight him and get his powers back. New chosen ones must be formed, and like something happens.
Or like they're in prison and if this happens, it'll like break the thing. There is like like a ticking clock. This like 6th day to undo the world thing, right? You could have worked in all these things, and they almost did, but it's bad.
Yeah, that kind of just sums it up. But it's bad. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
If you want to support the show, head over to cannibalvideo.com, pick up some merch.
And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button.
That's alright.
Yeah, that's something.
Whatever.
Fuck these motherfuckers.
Pretty cool, huh? It's my animality.
Cannibal Video has everything you need. A wide array of VHS and DVDs. We ate the competition, now it's only us. Our expert staff opinions you can really trust.